It is such a pleasure to talk to you about Bond because obviously you've lived it all those years. Start with you, Barbara, and having started so young within the Bond franchise, you have like childhood memories of being on the set of some of them.
I absolutely do. I mean, I was a year old when my father was making Dr. No in 1961, and I grew up coming to locations on vacation with my other brother and sister, and I started working, at a very young age, being involved with these movies, and it's been a real privilege to be a part of them for so many years.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many years, it's the most significant spy franchise ever in cinema. How do you deal with the competition of other spy movies and keep this one, fresh and successful and profitable and unique?
Well, I think as far as other films are concerned, first of all, we only come out every 3 years, so there's plenty of room for other good films. And our attitude is that if people make good films, even if they're spy films or action films, or as long as they're good, it brings people to the cinema. It gets them in the habit of coming, and it keeps the cinemas humming. So it's good films are good for everyone in the business.
What keeps it for you significant and current?
Well, I think it's always the challenge to make Bond both a combination of the classic Bond that people have loved over the years, but with a contemporary twist. And I think in particular, Spectre has a very contemporary story because it deals with issues that people are concerned about now, which is surveillance, as well as a lot of personal issues for Bond in this story because he comes up against. I think that these films it's always a challenge to give them to be classic films but with a contemporary twist. And I think particularly in this film we have a very contemporary storyline having to do with surveillance and also a very interesting personal story for Bond where he comes up against the most significant villain ever who is from his past, his childhood.
How much do you enjoy the fact that we're seeing a more sentimental side of a character that in the past was so aloof and closed?
Well, I think that Daniel bring out some aspects of Bond, personal aspects. He has a way of making Bond vulnerable, or at least showing the inner part of the man without having to express it too much in dialogue. And I think that's one of his gifts as an actor. So he is able to show a lot of personal feelings that the Bond character has that are revealed during this film.
To the enjoyment of the female audience as well.
Absolutely.
So it's all like what we say in the UK, location, location, location. This one, mostly gorgeous locations. Let's talk about Morocco, but also Rome and Mexico. And what are the challenges of going on location with Bond versus staying in Pinewood?
Well, it's always a challenge when you go out on the road, and particularly for a Bond film, because normally what we're doing, and particularly in this film, we have huge action adventure sequences. So, it's logistical problems, but we have a great team, and part of the fun of going to these locations is to take the audience there and to let them experience these incredible places the way James Bond does.
What was great about Morocco? The authenticity of the location?
Well, we've been to Morocco a few times. We made a film there back 25 years ago, and it's always we've been there several times on location scouts and that. And this time, it just fit the bill. I think Tangier is always an exotic place. It was just right for the American, and then out in the desert, it's a great background, and it's the lair. It's the place where the villain has his lair. Of course, there were certain issues. It was very hot at the time, and we had some sandstorms, but everyone got through it, and the results speak for themselves.
And if it's not tough, it's not fun, right?
Don't become a film producer if you don't like problems. That's what I say.
Exactly.